Tonight's class. Can you hear behind that one? Okay. Last Thursday, we had a discussion on the basic principles of Buddhism, something like the Four Noble Truths, and we also discussed that the first two truths explain how we wander into cyclic existence, and the second two truths explain us about how we can come out of the cyclic existence. And in relation with the second two truths, we had a discussion that the implementation of what we call as threefold trainings in our spiritual practice, that is training in moral ethics, training in concentration, and training in wisdom. And after that, I also discussed with you the history of this present text, the three principles of the path to enlightenment, the history of the present text, that how this text got written. And in that, I discussed with you that the author of this text is, we call him as Lama Tsongkhapa. Tsongkhapa was born in 1357 and lived up to for around 63 years of age, and he came from a very remote place, eastern Tibet, and then traveled into central Tibet, and then under many masters, he received so many teachings, and whereby he became one of the topmost scholar, as well as most respected meditation master of his time. And it is said that his master, we call his master Rendawa, who was his teacher, Lama Tsongkhapa offered a prayer or praise, a prayer verse to Rendawa, and praising the Rendawa, his master. But the Rendawa, he said that this praise is not suitable for me, rather it's more suitable to you. And in this way, this praise verse, we sometimes recite, right? This we will recite after the class, okay? So this is the praise in which Rendawa praises that the Tsongkhapa, the master, is the embodiment of Avalokiteshvara, that is Buddha of compassion, embodiment of Manjushri, Buddha of wisdom, and embodiment of the strength or vitality or the energy, that is Samvadvipa. And in this way, Lama Tsongkhapa is praised as the embodiment of three most respected deities in Tibetan Buddhism, as the embodiment. That during that time, if he had gotten such a praise, then we must accept that he was an exceptionally not only a great scholar, but also a great master, and at the same time having so much strength or vitality, or in other words, being able to benefit thousands of students because of his inner and physical as well as mental and emotional strength. So as I mentioned last time, that during his lifetime he wrote 18 volumes of books, 18 volumes of texts. I explained to you last time, right? And these texts were huge. Not only that these texts, some of them are so profound that, for example, this text itself, the Lamzon Namsong, it has about 40, 50, commentaries written by different scholars and masters. And some other texts, for example, there's a text on definitive and interpretation written by him, a text called Geshe, the essence of speech, in which he clarifies and defines which of the Buddha's teachings are, to be accepted as word, we call definitive, right? And which of the texts which of Buddha's word needed to be, how should I say, interpreted. It needs to be interpretation like that. So in this way, the Buddha's teachings, as we know that last time we discussed that Buddha, some years also back, that I told you that Buddha, lived for about 80 years of age, and he got the enlightenment when he was 35 years of age, right? So from 35 years of age to 80 years something of age, he got plenty of time to travel, right? And plenty of time to speak to so many different walks of life, to sometimes to the kings and queens, and sometimes to ordinary people, sometimes to the traders, and so thousands of people he got the opportunity to interact with them. And then many of these, I think most of the time, he were asked different types of questions, and then he would explain according to their according to their mental inclination, mental dispositions, and like that. So in some teachings you see that Buddha is explaining about the existence of self, and where in some teachings you see he's silent about the existence of self. But then in some teachings he's explicitly denies the existence of self, right? So, and then in some teachings we see he's just explaining about how one individual can be out of samsara as an individual, not much thinking about the larger sentient beings. Whereas in other teachings, such as teachings of in Paramita, is explaining and emphasizing that the taking care of the larger group, in other words, other sentient beings, should be the first importance in your life when you practice the Buddha Dharma like that, right? So you see so many Buddha spoke so many times. So he got 45 years of time, right, to speak and to teach and like that. So this actually, so when we have the collection in Tibetan literature, we have just the Buddha's teaching, as I mentioned some years back, that in Tibetan translation itself, we have 101 volumes of Buddha's teaching, which includes teachings teachings on Theravada tradition, teachings on Mahayana tradition, and teachings on Tantrayana teachings, all together over 101 volumes of teachings. So that's a big collection of works, right? A huge collection of works, right? So most of these teachings are very profound, very difficult to understand, and very, very classical. Some of them are written in a very, very classical way, classicals. So we need to get the interpretation of these teachings at our level, right, where we can understand, right, where understand it. Like you have a novel, right, and for example, last time I was telling about the what we call this Oliver Twist novel or Julius Caesar novel, right, and the Tale of Two Cities novels like that, right? When you read Shakespeare's, were, impossible to understand. So later, it's simplified and simplified and simplified and simplified, and then for children we have comic books, right, to explain. So it's like that. So in the same way, these teachings are so profound, needs to be simplified, explained in more simplified language like that. So that's how we have with these teachings we have the collection of the commentaries written by Indian scholars, and to this collection of commentaries we have Tibetan scholars commentaries, and one after the other, simplified and simplified like that, right? So for example, with this textbook, for example, Lama Tsongkhapa wrote what we call as Lamrim Chenmo. Lamrim, Lam means path, Rim means stages, Chenmo means great. In other words, we have this whole translation of books, right, in 3 volumes. It's called the Great Treatise, right? Great Treatise. It's a huge textbook. And then, okay, these are mainly for maybe more, I should say, more brainy, right? Brainy, more scholarly for scholarlies. And then he wrote a middling Lamrim, which we call Lamrim Chunga, or Lamrim Tingbu. Lamrim Tingbu, rather say middling Lamrim. That is another text, more concise, more simplified, like that. And then we have what we call as the lines of experience. It's very simplified, written in a very poetical way, and easy to memorize also, and in verses, very beautifully done. But then it has many verses. So again, many of us have no time to read all these verses, right? So we have, what we call as this, 3 principles of path to enlightenment, only few verses. shortened, simplified like that, right? So today, we are going to have a discussion on the, starting from the beginning of the principles of the expressive path. Like last time, we will recite 2 verses, okay? Please read the 2 verses all together. Read the 2 verses together, okay? First 2 verses. I bow down to the holy lamas. I will explain as well as I can the essential meaning of all the conqueror's scriptures, the path praised by the excellent conqueror's children, the port for the fortunate wishing liberation. Whenever are not attached to the pleasures of transient existence, whoever strive to make leisure and fortune worthwhile, whoever are inclined to the path pleasing the conqueror Buddha, those fortunate ones should listen with a clear mind. What's that? So, in the Tibetan tradition, whenever we write this kind of literature on Buddhism, the tradition is that first we pay homage to one's own teachers or gurus, or depending on which text, or depending on the text that this text which falls into what we call as threefold trainings. Threefold trainings. For example, if the text is mainly about the ethical practice, then it is praised as Tamje Kemala Chatsebo. Hence, I praise to all-knowing Buddhas. And if the text is about wisdom, then it is the praise is made to Manjushri, Jambayangla Chaksebo. And if the text is more about Sutra or what you call discourses, then it is praised that Sangye the Changju Semba Tamjala Chaksebo. That means I bow down to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and like that. And here, the Lama Tsongkhapa, he pays homage to his holy masters, holy masters, so holy teachers or holy lamas. So now, in Tibetan text, we have this sentence we call Jitsun Lama Namla Chakselo. Jitsun Lama Namla Chakselo. Jitsun Lama Namla Chakselo. Okay. Jitsun means actually holy Lama. Okay, here we see Lama, right? Jitsun. Jitsun has two words. Je and Tsun. Je means actually, Je refers to king or someone who's or I don't know. It's referred to more higher people, not just mayor. Not just mayor. Mayor is not included in Jitsun, like more of a king or like that, right? Or the president, I don't know. So anyway, Je is something like that. Tsun means ethically pure. So he's praising to his Lama, the masters, that you are my not only object of respect, but also you are pure. Your purity of ethics, for which I bow down. Am I making any sense? Purity of ethics. So Lama is, has become a very, very popular word actually. Lama actually refers to, sometimes it translated as guru. Guru means teacher, Lama or guru. So monks are also sometimes referred as lamas, but from one's individual side, Lama usually refers to one's own gurus or one's guru teachers, like that, right? So now in the Lamrim practice, here Lama Tsongkhapa has not explicitly explained about the guru devotion. Is rather implicitly or indirectly explaining about the guru devotion. So otherwise, in the Lamrim teaching, the great treatise, what we see is that the first outline is about the guru devotion. So we usually call Geshe Tensul Ne Tar Milot Songjoki Par. From the beginning of the guru devotion to until Tar Nilope Sungjuk means the Nilop means no more learning, union of no more learning, which actually refers to the Buddhahood. So there's complete guideline, almost like a map from which you can start and where you can hurry. In between, you can in between you can stop and go for hamburger or anywhere you like. In between you stop, right? When you drive long way, there's stops there. There's like that. And same thing is there. Same thing, because reaching to the state of enlightenment is not something that we can achieve instantly. There's no instant, no instant enlightenment, right? Otherwise, most of us have already achieved enlightenment instantly. Right? It's not like instant noodle, no instant noodle. Top ramen, no ramen. Even with instant noodle, it takes 3 minutes, right? No instant noodle. It's something that we need to, progress gradually. It's a process within which we progress gradually until we see that we have reached to a certain level of realization. See our mind becoming finer and finer, completely refined. It's a state of refined, When it's totally refined, it's the Buddhahood. So in that course of training, from the Buddhist perspective, I'm speaking from the role of a teacher plays a very crucial role, because it's related with your spiritual practice. It's related with your own mind training. The individual who gets to train into spirituality, it's not something like you learn the history, right? You learn history, you can learn so many things, but you don't have to, you don't have to integrate in your mind stream. Nothing, you just can speak anything you have learned, but you don't need to speak. So you don't need training very much, right? Only thing is that you need all of these information in your head, but in your brain, but you don't need to dissolve them into your heart. Not necessary. Even with the science too, everything, whatever the secular subjects, whatever you study, are mainly at your head level, not at your mental level, heart level. So, of course, they play a very wonderful role, but not in, mending, not in shaping or not transforming our life, not in the transformation of our life, right? So that's why spiritual teacher is very, very crucial in our life. So to get a hold onto such a spiritual teacher, we first need to know what is, in other words, what is the benefit of relying on teacher, guru, and what are the disadvantages of not relying on teacher, right? And then we need to know that if the teacher's quality is like that, and if the student's quality, then how we are going to rely on the teacher, how we are going to depend on the teacher. So very, very clear guidelines are explained in the great Lamrim Chemo, Lamrim text, So here, Jizun Lama Namla Chas, Jizun Zunba Esaman, ethically pure. So a teacher, whoever you wish to rely on, that teacher must be ethically pure. That is the basic thing about being who she or he who you're going to take upon as your teacher. Of course, you can go to receive lectures, but then that's different. I go to teach PSU, right? But I teach as lectures, right? Lectures. And I don't sit on throne even, right? If I sit on throne, there, I think no students will come, right? One time, I have a story. At PSU, the first time when I taught at PSU, of course, I have a very, very wonderful mentor, and she really helped me, how to teach, trained me actually how to really teach the Western students, college students, right? And she said that you should not be too formal, don't be too formal, otherwise they will not like you, they will not listen to you very much. So I kept in this mind. But first class, on the first day, when I entered the classroom is very big, and at that time I attracted maybe 40 students around like that, because at that time, and so large number of students, and I was there, teaching. So I sat on the chair and started teaching. I think I could understand, because I didn't do very well, because they were not listening really, they were talking to each other, and the students were, some even left, before the class finished. So then I went back home and introspected what really happened, it didn't go very well, to my satisfaction. And I said, my teacher told me, you should not be very formal, So I understood, I should not be very formal. Then next day, because I was in public school, our teachers sometimes were not very formal, they would go here and there, just teach, and then I remembered all those things, recollected all how they did, they did with us, right? So next day, I went to a coffee shop, got a huge cup of coffee, and then instead of sitting on the chair, I sat on the table. And some of the students, they were not sitting on the chair, because in that classroom, the wall was very big, wall was very big, the window wall, the window, they could sit on those windows on the wall, like that, right? Some of them are sitting on them, and then I said, okay, no problem, they let them sit whatever they want, wherever they wanted to sit, right? And then I went on drinking coffee, giving them some talks, and relating with them, and everyone got more and more interested, right? Interested. And my coffee went very well, I could relate really very well with them, And then I said, this is the way to teach, college students. I find. So, and then we became very close to each other, and of course you have the, what you call culture of bringing food in the class, right? You listen and you eat, and while you listen, unimaginable in our class, no way, like that. I also, okay. Sometimes I also bring my snacks, It was a wonderful time, really, really, really wonderful time. I learned so many things from them, Then my class is quite long, almost about 3 hours, because I only teach 4 days a week, 4 days, and it's a semester or short-term program. So sometimes I bring Tibetan tea, make tea. Sometimes I bring chai, make chai, and then I give them short break, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then we all drink tea and like that, snacks together, So when we left the class, everyone was so, how should I say, when we finished the program, it was hard to part away from each other. We got so close to each other, like that. That's I learned, that's how I learned, That's how. So the teacher's quality is very important, and in one commentary it says that it talks about 10 qualities of a teacher, and the first and foremost quality is Shenyan Dulwa, Shiva, never Shiva. Means Shenyan Dulwa means ethically pure. Shiva means pacified at mind, mentally pacified. Shiva. Never Shiva means never sure means having wisdom to teach, right? So these 10 qualities are there. In other words, 3 qualities must be present with a teacher who you really want to take as your true teacher. So, Khe Jun Sang Sung. Kheba means scholarly. Junba actually, as just mentioned, ethically pure. Sangbu means very kind and generous. Like that. These qualities must be, are necessary to be a qualified master, So then, from the student side also, you have some responsibility. That is, you should be, you should be. In other words, when you go on listening the teachings, as I mentioned some years back, if it's compared with a pot, right? If a pot is put upside down, no matter how much water you put inside the pot, the water will not enter your pot, right? And then if the pot is leaking from bottom, no matter how much you put, it'll never stay inside. And then the third is, if the pot is dirty inside, the best food you put inside will be dirty and it's not usable, right. So you must also have these three, opposite of these three things, right? Opposite of these 3 things like that. And mainly very, very impartial and unbiased attitude towards your teacher, impartial, unbiased attitude. Am I making sense like that? So these are the qualities of course, benefits of teacher, relying on a guru, and the disadvantages of these are very now clear, right? Even for just a simple food to make, even to make a pizza, you have to learn from someone else, right? Or maybe if you were pizza maker from the past life, then maybe you can do it automatically. Otherwise, you have to learn, right? Right? Simple things, even simple things, you have to rely on someone else to learn. So in the same way, so then we are saying we are going on the path of the Buddhahood path, path of the Buddha. We have never gone before. And we have never gone before. Otherwise, we would have been returned here like this, right. We are still wandering into this cycle. That clearly shows we have not reached there, right? It's not the, like round world, like that, okay, you travel and then you have reached again back here, right? So that path which we have never went on must be shown by someone who has had experience in the past, or at least who have had some kind of training by himself and seeing, oh, this is the way, almost like GPS, right? You have this now. Everyone uses GPS these days. And I think what we are seeing is our mind, our brain is becoming more and more dumb, because we are not using our brain very much. The less we use, the less it becomes dumb, right? It is scientifically said that brain must be, activate. It must be, we must make use of brain as much as possible, right? That's why as we get older, we have some, treatments, remedies like that, where the older people are do these things and these things. Otherwise, if they don't do anything, their brain will collapse, right? And like that. So, in the similar fashion, here also we need to track on the path. So that is why benefits of relying on master, is really, really important. A true master is very, very crucial in our life. So then, having found the qualified teacher, having known the benefit of relying on a pure master. So now, how should I rely on the Guru? How should I rely on the Guru? That is, he said, in the text it says, Shenye Sambe Tensu and Jorve Tensu. Samba means through my mind or through my heart. How should I rely on? Jorve means through practical ways. How should I, in my daily practice, how should I rely on? Samba as in the samba or in the mind, we need to cultivate what we call as deva. Deva means devotion or faith. It's a faith. In faith, it's really, of course, later on we will learn that faith can come through understanding of the teaching. But in the beginning, we must have faith to one's own Guru. When it says, because faith with the faith is very crucial in the beginning. Faith. And with the faith, and then we also will cultivate the gratitude to the teacher, because through teacher we are able to purify our negativities, cultivate positive qualities, whereby we go closer to the state of enlightenment. Right? So faith and gratitude are very important practice in the beginning when we rely on the teacher. And secondly, in practical daily life, we need to heed the advice, whatever teacher has given to us. We need to practice whatever. If the teacher says, now you meditate on the compassion, you need to meditate on compassion. If the teacher says meditate on bodhicitta, you need to meditate on bodhicitta. So if you don't practice what is taught, then you'll reach nowhere, right? So it's not just the Buddha. Everyone, even for the Buddha, he reached to the state of enlightenment from being an ordinary person to the state of enlightenment. So that is why in Buddhist practice, emphasis is given on the fact that everyone, for example, from the past Buddhas, including the present Buddhas and even the future Buddhas, everyone was, an ordinary person at some point. That's really a wonderful teaching, right? If you say that the Buddhas were enlightened from the beginning of time, and they did not go for training, and they never had to go for training, but you have to go like, right. But you have to, how come I need to go, right? You will not understand this, you will not accept it, right. The teacher trainer, college teachers, first they have to go to training, right? And then they teach, then you also go for training, right? So everyone, so that's the one thing, the beauty of Buddhism is, that everyone at one point was an ordinary person, and everyone who had practiced diligently with willpower and determination, through effort, continuous effort, could reach to a state of enlightenment, or if not, to a very higher realizations, right? So that's really a beautiful teaching, very, very beautiful, very wonderful teaching. So if Buddha could do this, why can't I do, right? And then we have the explanation in the text that every one of us has the Buddha nature, right? I've been explaining this about to you many times. That's very, very important in our life to understand. I have the potential. I have the seed to achieve, to make myself a better person. the most, the most highly realized beings, including the Buddha, even this, for example, Lama Tsongkhapa, he was able to reach to that high level realization. It's because he had the Buddha seed. Without the seed, without the Buddha seed or without the Buddha nature, impossible for us to achieve the state of enlightenment. Because mind that is with that what we call seed slowly evolves, evolves, and then eventually reaches to the state of enlightenment. Same thing with our external world, like when we talk about, when look at the fruit trees, evolves, slowly evolves, from seed to germination, and then becoming small tree, and eventually big tree, and then eventually bearing. Some fruit trees takes like 5 years to bear fruit. Some takes 3 years, like that, right? And then scientists are trying their best, right, to bear fruits in 1 year, maybe, whatever. But there is evolution where you see the progress from the point where there's the seed, there's the seed. So in this way, what I'm saying is that the two main practices, that is the devotion as well as the practice, you need to work on. So if we achieve this, then we are doing, this what we call as really, or then we see that I bow down to the holy lamas, like that, right? So in that text, we need to explain in that line. We need to explain all the teachings that is related with the Guru devotion in that teachings, and then also there is preliminary practice which are involved, preliminary practice related to Guru devotion. And then we come the actual meditation, tune 그 값을 지들 자와라, 춘섬서 지들 자와. So during the meditation session, when you do Guru devotion meditation, how you are going to do the Guru devotion, and the post meditational session, like that. So maybe we will not go in detail about these things. Maybe next time, that is really important. We should maybe some time later. I want to make sure that some practices may need it to be more, we need some more time, like this. So then the second verse, right? That the verse is, I'll explain as well as I can, right? The essential meanings of all the conqueror's scriptures. The path praised by the excellent conqueror children. The port for the fortunate wishing liberation, right? So in the pictures. Gelwe surup mu yin gyu den. Gese tamban nam yin akpelam. Geden tartu nam ji jumo de jidar nushi dagi shebacha. It's a verse again in the tradition of writing a text. Usually there is a promise to compose. So the Lama Tsongkhapa is making a promise to compose this text, the following body of the text, So not only that, this verse, this word also explains about the essential teachings, essential essential thesis of the text, essential thesis of the whole body of the text. Like Like you when you write what do you call this for your PhD, right? First you have to write synopsis, where in which you will be able, you need to explain everything what you are going to write in the bigger body of the thesis. And this synopsis is first submitted to your professor, right? And then this professor will go through it, and then he will, sometimes reject this synopsis. It's not, you are not doing good, right? Find out something better, There's no originality like that, right? So synopsis, and then this synopsis becomes the whole body of thesis later on, right? This is same thing. In these 4 lines, you see the main elements of the Lama Tsongkhapa's the main body of the text. So the main elements are first is Nyejung. Nyejung means the mind of renunciation. Okay, mind of renunciation. And the second is Jangjuk Sen, that is the mind of bodhicitta, Nyejung Jangsen. And the third is the wisdom of reality, or wisdom understanding the ultimate truth, right? Three things. So Lama Tsongkhapa here says, these 3, mind of renunciation, mind of bodhicitta, and the wisdom of emptiness, are the essential teachings of the Gyalwa, means conqueror Buddhas, conqueror. His praises, Lama Tsongkhapa uses an adjective conqueror for the Buddha, right? So now, why Buddha is called as a conqueror, right? Conqueror, or the victorious one, right? Or the victorious one. So Buddha is a victorious person because he is able to completely destroy the inner enemy of what we call as the afflicted emotions. Okay? Of these afflicted emotions, the main 3 afflicted emotions are hatred, attachment, and ignorance of self-grasping. So when we look at ourselves too, from ignorance of self-grasping, we generate attachment. With the attachment, we generate anger, hatred, jealousy, or all these things. Because what happens is that with the ignorance of self-grasping, we looked upon ourselves as the most important person on this universe. I don't care any other thing. I am the most. I need it to be. I need everything I want. I need everything I want. I don't need anything that I don't want. So we have this kind of, because of self-grasping. Self-grasping brings what we call as Rang Che Zin. Rang Che Zin means self-centered attitude. Right? This is very obvious to us, right? The more self-centered attitude we are, the more we become selfish. And the more we become selfish, the more we meet with the challenges and difficulties, because we are not normal person. Already we become abnormal because we act abnormally. Right? Physically we say abnormally, mentally of course already abnormal, right? And verbally we say so many abnormal things. As you go on saying abnormal things, you say someone too stupid, this person gets hurt, and he will also say, you are more stupid, right, than I am, right? Then again I'm hurt. Then I will say more bad words, right? So in this way, the ripple effect of being too self-centered attitude. And that self-centered attitude is rooted to our self-grasping, that I am my existence being, completely in having inherent existence. And when we look at it, when we search for like that, we understand, analyze, we understand. But not nothing to be dependent anywhere, in any form. But in reality, when we search about, when we think I'm totally self-independent, but in reality, when we search for it, it kind of dissolves, self-centered or self-grasping, dissolves. And then self-centeredness is also dissolved. So these three afflictive emotions are also referred as three poisons, right? It's really worse than poison, right? Poison can, of course, hurt our physical body, but poison cannot hurt our mental mind system, emotional system. It cannot hurt. But these three poisons not only harm our physical body, but also harms our mental system. So one of the Dalai Lamas mentioned, "Janana tupe nyomong dil, janana tupe nyomong dil, tishargu chosu nevala lunu gurtonga terechos." He says that the enemy is inside you, but you are searching enemy outside. You are always looking for enemy outside. You will never be able to, find victory upon enemy, because enemy is within you, but you are searching, externally searching for the enemy. He makes an example of like, if there is a ghost in the other room, instead of searching for the ghost in that room, if you go on the other direction, this ghost will laugh at you, So because you are on the wrong direction, right? He's there, but whereas you are hiding somewhere, searching for somewhere else, right? So in the same way, like this. That is why the Buddhas are referred as conquerors, because completely eliminated, including the stains of afflictive emotions. So that's why conquerors. So Geshe Tamban Yewe Surab Kunji Ingui Dön. And the Buddhas see the mind of renunciation, the mind of bodhicitta, the wisdom of reality as the essential practice for reaching to a state of enlightenment. Yewe Surab Kunji Ingui Dön. Geshe Tamban Namji Ngapela means Geshe Tamban Namji means the sons and the daughters of the Buddhas also have praises for these three essentials of the teachings. That is, mind of renunciation, mind of bodhicitta, mind of wisdom of reality or emptiness. Gyalden Tardo Namji Jungo, yes. Gyalden here refers to the fortunate ones, and Tardo wishing to achieve the liberation. And here meant Juk Ngok is the port for reaching to the liberation as well as to the state of enlightenment. So Gyalwa the Dhamba, we are the fortunate ones. Yeah, Buddha is referring, Lama Tsongkhapa is referring as, you are the fortunate ones. Really, we are the fortunate ones, right? Because we have, from the Buddhist perspective, we call as 8 leisures and 10 endowments. In any case, in short form, we have the leisure to practice the Dharma. Our senses are wonderful in, learning the Dharma. We have the external conditions to practice Dharma, internal conditions to practice the Dharma. So if we happen to be, say, in South Africa, what would have been our situation? Impossible to do anything, any practice Dharma. Right now, here we have every kind of opportunity. So that's why the Lama Tsongkhapa is exhorting us. Now what we need to have is wish to transform, wish to learn, wish to mending the mind, right? Mending the mind is very good word, Mend means something that is, for example, tough, or we use hammer or any kinds of thing, right? For example, when we mend the steel, right? We can use like that, right? All kinds of tools are there to mend the hard steel, and we have so many tools in mending this hard mind too, hard mind, right? So then tardu nam jumo. So tardu means wishing to achieve the state of nirvana or enlightenment. Jumo. Now jumo here the translator has translated as port. It's really like a port, right? It's also maybe airport too, Not ship port only, but airport too, right? You want to go to India, you have to. These days, the ship port, is not. It will take too many months, right? But you have the airport, right? So, but we have to go to the airport, right? So then tartu namji jumo de sedugan go to the airport. He's saying, to reach to the state of enlightenment, pack your bag, go to the airport, like that. If you just go and say, I'll go and I'll go, but you will never buy a ticket, we will never reach to the airport, right? Even if you are reached to the airport, the security will not let you inside, right? So you have to have proper ticket, and everything ready, and then you have to start the journey. Then jumo, that jumo actually means it is a more profound word. That it is that from that way it has to start the journey. From that place you have to start the journey. Very interesting, very, very powerful words, That's why I'll explain these three essentials to the best of my ability. That's Lama Tsongkhapa is making a promise to compose the following verses or the following main body of the teaching, right? We start 8:30. We stop. Okay.